Hi everyone, my name is Dr. Emily Okuto. I'm the one who has been taking you through the course Peace Building, Radicalization, and De-radicalization. I believe you've had an interesting time going through the process of understanding what radicalization is, what de-radicalization is, the difference in the concepts of de-radicalization, counter-radicalization, de-radicalization and counter-radicalization. We have gone through a process where we are trying to understand what is it that drives people to get radicalized. There are very many explanations to it. Nobody seems to understand why people really get radicalized. Why is it that when people get radicalized, you are unable to actually explain what caused it? Because you find rich people, people from rich backgrounds actually getting involved in terrorist acts. You're also getting people from disadvantaged backgrounds getting involved in terrorist acts. Hence the need to go through this course to try and get understanding what is it that gets people to be radicalized to the extent that they eventually get radicalized, involved in extreme violence. The extreme violence is the one we refer to as terrorism. Actually, the most extremist form of radicalization, that is the top of the staircase, is violent extremism, which today is the one we refer to as terrorism or terrorist attacks. We have had a scholarly perspective to it. We've tried to understand it the way scholars would do, trying to cite different scholars, what they say about radicalization process. What are the social factors that cause radicalization? What are the political factors that cause radicalization? What are the religious factors? You'll be very surprised that all these are able to explain what radicalization is. The social, the ideological, the political, the economic, and many others. But the psychologists actually have a broad way of explaining radicalization up to the very extreme form that is terrorism. Now, after trying to understand what radicalization means, we have also gone through the different theories of radicalization, because it is not just left to people who are speculating about it. We have different people theorizing. And so during our course, we looked at the sociological theories, we've looked at the psychological theories, and we've also looked at political theories as they explain this radicalization process. And some scholars have actually gone ahead and come up with models. They believe that for radicalization to take place, there are certain factors. Like we talk of situational factors, we talk of environmental factors, amongst other things. We are going to go through all these as we revise the whole course. Some of these models really give a real explanation. For example, if you take Randy Boram's staircase model, which describes radicalization as a staircase, where you start the first staircase, the second staircase, up to the topmost staircase, which is the terrorist act itself. The New York police also came up with a model. So even as you revise, we are going to look at some of these models just for the sake of your understanding. And then you ask yourself, which model actually gives us a good explanation to what radicalization means. Now, as we went through the program, we also discussed religious factors. Is radicalization linked to religion? What is it about religion that is so synonymous with the radicalization process? It is not just Islamic religion only, as many people tend to believe. Many people think that when you talk of radicalization, then that is a Muslim affair. But look, what about the Christians? We've had so many cases of Christians going to the most extremist form. Look at the terrorist attack that took place in New Zealand. That was a Christian who had already become so radicalized that he was able to attack a Muslim mosque. We've seen in our country, Kenya, where we have people who have misinterpreted Christianity to the extent that they are able to actually sacrifice their lives. I remember there's one Christian, oh, I don't know whether I can call him a priest, but he was a founder of one of those cults, I would call them, or one of those Christian religions. His followers believed in him. This is called a Legio Maria sect. His followers believed in him so much that anytime he walked the streets, the followers would lie down flat on the ground and they don't look up as he passes. That is religious fundamentalism. So I would like you to just look at how religion actually causes radicalization and narrow down and look at Islamic religion. Many people think that terrorists are only Muslims, and some people also link Muslims to be people from Somali origin. But things have changed. If you look at the composition of terrorists and you ask the question, who is a terrorist, you'll not be able to answer, because terrorists are now comprised of people from Somali origin, people of African origin, comprising of the different ethnic groups. So there's more to radicalization than just what meets the eyes. Then, as we move through the process, we now came to the concept of terrorism. And we asked ourselves the question, who is a terrorist? And we were able to answer ourselves. And we said, one man's terrorist is another person's hero. So who is a terrorist? Most of the interpretations or definitions of terrorists are done by the whites. And so the whites look at terrorists from their own lenses. During the colonial days in Kenya, the whites looked at the Mau Maus as terrorists. Yet for the blacks, the Mau Maus were their heroes. So who is a terrorist? And for the sake of this course, what is our scope when we define a terrorist? We are going to redefine our scope and say a terrorist in the context of this course is that person who unleashes attacks on innocent people, especially after that person or persons have gone through a radicalization process. They attack people, they destroy properties, they destroy lives. They actually make people lose their lives, and they don't mind dying in that process. That is the terrorist we are going to look at. And especially those who are radicalized as we talk about some of these radicalization processes. So, terrorism. What are the psychological explanations of terrorism? Find out. What are the psychological explanations of terrorism? I would also want you to look at the effects of terrorism. When people engage in terrorism, what are the effects? Especially to the people they attack. And where do you draw the line between terrorism and criminality? Are terrorists criminals? If you want to answer that question, look at what criminals do. Criminals are outlawed. There are people who are engaging in acts that are outlawed. Are terrorist acts outlawed? I would want you to find out. Do they engage in criminal activities? Are the activities criminal in nature? In other words, I'm asking you, what would you say if we started saying that terrorism is a crime? The criminality of terrorism. There has been a huge debate on that terrorism is a criminal act. Who is a terrorist? Again, I would like to ask you that question. Now, even as we explain radicalization, there are several groups that have tried to come up and explain de-radicalization and counter-radicalization processes. The first group I want to talk about is the civil society. A lot of the activities under de-radicalization normally comes from the civil society groups and non-governmental organizations. So how do they contribute to counter-radicalization? What do they say? What do they say about counter-radicalization? I also want you to look at the process of radicalization. What processes are involved? I know the psychologists give us the cognitive perspective of de-radicalizing people. Could you please go and look at the step-by-step approaches in the de-radicalization of individuals who were once radicalized? I would also want you to look at the internet. One time I asked a student, when the student was presenting a paper, and the student said, my topic is about the internet. No, my topic is about digital technology and how it is used to counter security attacks. And I asked the student, what is digital technology? And the student told me, the digital technology is the internet. I told the student, please go back, find out what the internet is. The student never came back, of course. Actually, she dropped out. She didn't understand. Somebody had done the work for her. But anyway, let me get back to the point. When I talk of the internet, I am not talking about the media. Because what many students do is when I ask them about the internet, they straight away give a presentation on the media. So I'm throwing the question at you. How does the internet contribute to the spread of terrorist attacks in the world? The internet actually contributes to the spread of terrorist attacks in very many ways. That's what we call the information. It uses information technology. But the internet is now available in people's devices. The internet makes use of media. So you can get literature to read from the internet. You do Google search. So one can get to read, to get media. One can actually use social media, tweets. Remember, when terrorists attack, one of the things they do is they do a video recording. They do a video recording of their act. Remember their motive. Their motive is supposed to create fear in people. So you can imagine if you're watching a video of someone who has been beheaded, you get a lot of fear. And the aim of terrorism is to instill fear. So these people who are already radicalized and they engage in terrorist acts, when they instill fear in people, they believe they've achieved their agenda. And those videos, the videos they do are actually spread using the internet. Then the medias, the social media, the literature that they send, the recruitment that they engage in, they're able to recruit people to join their attacks. They're able to scare. They're able to do so many things. So I believe that internet is actually contributing to the spread of terrorism. One time I asked, I was just looking at a survey that had been done. And the survey was the most frequented site on the internet. I know many of you will be gazing, what is this most frequented site in the internet? But believe you me, it was so interesting. Many people thought the most frequented sites in the internet would be maybe dating sites or pornographic sites or football sites. But this survey found something very interesting. Young people were visiting terrorist sites. And one of the sites that they visited was, how does one assemble a bomb? People logged in several times to find out how to assemble a bomb. And it's there in the internet. You log in, you get how to assemble a bomb. So if you are interested in how to assemble a bomb, what are you going to use a bomb for? So this internet is actually contributing to the spread of terrorist attacks. You sometimes talk of internet, sometimes you talk of information technology, sometimes you talk of media only. It's good to differentiate between these terms. If it is media, let it be media. If it is internet, look at how the internet helps the spread. If it is information technology, then narrow down to information technology. So, what am I saying? I'm saying that it is important for you to go back to your work, try and find out the different causes of radicalization. I know there are several: political, economic, social. And then how are people explaining radicalization? How are people explaining radicalization? And these people, some of them are scholars. And what models are there? What models are there that are explaining radicalization? There are several. Do you understand the key models of radicalization? Yes, there are several. I would want you to look at the psychological factors involved in radicalization. And I also would like you to look at psychological factors involved in terrorism. Because the psychologists look at individual factors. But at the same time, the psychologists look at the group factors. What are the individual factors? What are the group factors? Individual factors could actually explain why many people engage in terrorism, yet they are well to do. So that does away with the concept that radicalization and terrorism is only for the disadvantaged people. Individual factors, lack of identity, lack of self esteem, lack of fulfillment, the idea of feeling lonely, the idea of the desire to belong, there are several. And the psychologists say that all these are cognitive factors. These cognitive factors can actually be used to de-radicalize individuals. So you use the same cognitive. When I talk of cognitive, I'm talking of what is in the mind. So use the cognitive factors to de-radicalize individuals. And then I'm saying, find out, how does de-radicalization take place? What are non-governmental organizations using to de-radicalize individuals? What are the steps? What are the measures? And before I forget, I want you to look at any country that has been attacked several times. What measures are being put in place by that country to counter terrorist activities? Is that country successful? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry I'll not be able to be with you on a face-to-face basis, but if you listen to my recording, I'm speaking volumes. Please now go back to your notes, read and get your facts right. In exams, when I'm marking, I don't mark general stuff. I mark points. So some of you don't read. You wait to read in the last week just before exams. And so when you get to exams, you're actually writing general issues without facts. Please get your facts right. Get your facts from what you've read, not what you have heard, to avoid failing. Remember, in exams, for those of you who are new, only people who have got C plane and above are considered to have passed. If you get a C minus, you will have failed. Work towards getting that pass. And watch your GPA. Your GPA should be 2.7 and above for you to graduate. Think about that as you prepare for this exam. I hope to meet you on a face-to-face basis another time. Last but not least, remember to pre-register for your September courses. Please pre-register for your September program. Otherwise, if you don't pre-register, the units will be dropped. Please pre-register. I think that's a call that has been made for everyone. Wishing you all the best in all that you're going to do. In case you have any issue, please don't be afraid. Just email me and I will respond. Or if you have my number, you can WhatsApp me on that number on 0721 766 802. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.